Caramelizing onions is a wonderful way to add delicious flavor to almost any savory recipe there is. Today we're going to illustrate that technique, and we'll start with using Vidalia onions, which are now in season. And the Vidalia onions are nice and sweet. If you can't find those onions, we can use any other sweet onion available, like Maui, Spanish sweet. This, I recommend, instead of what the usual recipes call for, is to julienne the onions. And in order to do that, you want to cut the onions from the stem to the core or root part. And then we're going to do something that we usually don't do. We're going to cut out that root part and the stem part and peel. Once you do this, it'll make your peeling a lot easier. And then putting your onion down, we're all set to julienne. I'm going to cut that little bit of this top part off. Now this technique will yield a few more pieces that aren't long and stringy like the sliced ones. And we're going to take the first two slices, those are going to hang in together, and we're going to slice those lengthwise into a julienne. And now if we just follow the natural slices of the onions, they will start to fall apart into these pretty curved julienne. If they don't come apart, you might need to just cut that root end a little bit better. Once you have those all done, you're going to need about 4 or 5 onions, depending upon the size, and equal to 8 cups. Now before we go to the stove, we're also going to do a little parchment paper folding, because we're going to cut the onions before we can start to caramelize them. Parchment paper is now readily available at the grocery store, and we're going to fold it in half. Get rid of that. And in quarters. And I like to say this is the equivalent of when you were making snowflakes in kindergarten, first grade. You're going to always, from the folded corner, fold again, and one more time. And now we're ready to take our onions and our parchment back to the stove and start cooking. Now we're here ready to cook. We want to select a heavy-bottomed aluminum pan. I prefer a Dutch oven with a little bit higher sides. I melted a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of canola oil. Together those two give good flavor, but they sustain a higher, longer cooking temperature. So we have started these onions. They've already started, and I wanted to illustrate what you're going to do with the parchment paper. You want to estimate the folded point at the center and just reach out to the edge. Do a quick tear. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you unfold, and the parchment goes then down against the onions. And what this does is it holds in the steam, and that's called sweating. And that makes it so that it is a moist heat cooking rather than a dry heat cooking where the onions would fry and become crisp and brown. Instead, they're going to gently caramelize. We will remove the parchment, and we've already done this part of them. We sweated those onions, stirring about every 5 minutes until they've started to get translucent. If you take a look, this is what they started looking like, and now we've got them not completely transparent, but they have a little see-through look to them. We're going to add a half a teaspoon of sugar, which is going to help the caramelizing process, and we're going to leave the parchment off now and continue to cook. You want to regulate the heat according to allowing them to cook without burning. You just want to start to get them gently brown. You want to stir about every 5 minutes. This process will take approximately 40 minutes for completion. So this is the time part, not the hard part. You just don't want to go too far away from the stove, and you want to have a little bit of patience. And then we'll come back and we'll take a look at our finished product. Here we are with the finished onions. 8 cups sliced have morphed into this beautiful 1+ cup of caramelized onions. And Nancy Frazier, we're here filming at Frazier's Kitchen Showplace, is going to do a taste test for us.
I'm amazed because when I saw this pan before, it was full of 8 cups of onions, and now to see it reduced to this amount is just wonderful, and the color is gorgeous.
Thank you.
It looks wonderful. So yes, I do want to take a taste, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Delicious.
And now they're ready for your favorite recipes or ones that are in the column. Enjoy.